good to see everyone. It has been a challenge, guys, going live, but here I am. So today, before we get started, I just want to thank you all. Just give me a moment. I'm going to adjust my camera here. All right, I just want to thank you all for coming in. I'm just going to wait a few seconds just to see if anyone comes in. This is my first time going live, so I just want to give you all a chance to come in. While I'm waiting for you all to come in, for those of you who may be here, if you have not had a chance to subscribe to A Queen's Crown, please make sure you do so. Hit that notification bell so that you can receive notifications every time A Queen's Crown goes live, posts, or shares. Hit the thumbs up and the share button. So I'm just going to wait a few moments to give people a chance to come in. And then once they come in, we're just going to go in. And today's topic, we are going to talk about hair thinning. Yes, we're going to talk about a few things that is causing our hair to thin, or sometimes people say, or I'm going bald, or whatever terminology you use. We're just going to talk about some of the things that may be causing it to happen with some of our locks. So I do see a few people coming on in, so just come on in. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and get started. And then as people come in, we can just pick up from there. But I do have some notes written here so that I can make sure I give you all some pretty good information. Please excuse me in advance if I'm wiping my face. It is a little warm here. And because I'm outside, it's a little warm outside. So forgive me with that as well. So let's get started. What are some of the things or some of the reasons that causes our hair to thin, or causes our hair to not really grow as quick as we would like? And one of the first things that I want to point out that I think a lot of times we don't even think about is genetics. A lot of times we'll say, like, are you drinking enough water? Are you taking vitamins? And sometimes we don't take into consideration that genetics also play a very big part into why our hair is the way it is, our DNA. If we have a family history of hair loss, if we have a family history of alopecia, if we have a family history of like diabetes or high blood pressure, those are things that can cause our hair to thin. And some of that you just can't do anything about, in the sense of trying to fix it or correct it, unless there is a condition that can be fixed or corrected. So a lot of times, if you've been to a dermatologist, a trichologist, and they're all saying there's nothing that we can do, or they're giving you these remedies, but they're not working for you, it could just be that it is genetic, and this is why you are seeing that thinning in your hair. So genetics can be one of the reasons. Also, water. A lot of times we don't realize how much water plays an important part in our body. It is essential. Water gives us the nutrients. It helps us to flush our bodies, our kidneys, our livers. It flushes the system for anything that we may be eating, any medication that we may be taking. Water is what flushes that out. And believe it or not, I know a lot of times people say, well, I drink water, but you might be a coffee drinker, you might be a tea drinker, you might be an energy drinker. All of those things that have sugar or can be sugary still has to be flushed out of the body, and water is what's going to do it. I know a lot of times we'll say, well, I don't like drinking water, it has no taste. Some people opt for flavored water. Whatever your preference may be, nothing is going to be like water. Just pure water. When we're sick, remember when we were kids and we would bump our head or something, or we would say our back hurt or our stomach hurt, and our mother would say, go in the room, get some water, or go in the kitchen, get some water, and then go in the room and lay down. It was like water was the healer for everything. Water is essential for our hair growth. Sodas, juice, coffees, teas, anything besides water. If you're going to drink those things, now I'm not saying you can't have coffee. I'm not saying you can't drink tea, because I drink tea, I drink coffee. But what I am saying is there should not be a more intake of tea or coffee than there is water. If you're going to be drinking coffee, let's say you're someone who drinks coffee all day, then I would recommend, and I'm not a doctor or anything, this is just what I'm saying, if we're going to balance it out. If you drink a cup of coffee, the next cup of beverage, let it be water. If you drink a cup of soda, the next beverage, let it be water. Try to balance it out. Don't just drink 1 cup of water a day. That's not going to work. It's not going to get it. It's just not going to work. It's the same way when we have plants. For those of you who have plants or may garden, you know that you can't just go out and water your plants once a month. You have to give them and some plants you have to water a few times a day. You have to give them the proper nutrients to help them grow. It is the same way with our hair. Our hair needs proper nutrients. And I know sometimes we do detox and things like that for our body. But if we drink water, water will detox us daily. That water is what's going to keep us constantly flushed out. Thank you for those who are coming in. Welcome to A Queen's Crown. Hi. So, so we talked about genetics. We talked about water. For those of you who may just be coming in, we're talking about hair thinning and what is causing our hair to thin, some of the things that we can do to try to change it. And so right now we're talking about water being one of those things that we can do to help our hair growth. Water, for me, I love water, so I drink water all day. I'm not really a soda drinker. Since I've been here on the continent, I will say that I have drinking more soda probably in 20 years, just because it's a little bit different here. I will say I went from not drinking soda at all probably in the last 20 to 25 years to maybe drinking soda 2-3 times a month now. I'm working on it, you guys. Trust me, I'm trying to even eliminate that, but there's just sometimes that it's just, I don't know, it's just something about the sweets here that are just a little bit different, so it doesn't have all of that what is it that I'm looking for? It's not carbonated the same way that it is back at home. Another thing that I want to talk about that we may not do and some of us may do is vitamins. Taking vitamins is essential. Some of us take vitamins for our hair and our nails and other things, but vitamins can be very important as well. But just as important vitamins are, is the same way that you don't want to overdo it when it comes to things like too much iron. Too much iron is not good for our hair, and a lot of people don't realize that, but you want to make sure that even your diet, what we're eating, vegetables. I know people are like, this is like fundamental things, but when we were a kid coming up and our parents would say, drink your milk, eat your vegetables. These things are going to make you strong. And for some of you, and I might be telling my age, who remember Popeye, remember the cartoon, he would have to eat his spinach in order to be strong and overcome. And it's kind of the same way with us. We have to, believe it or not, eat our vegetables, drink milk. For those of us who may be lactose intolerant or who can't drink milk, whatever the supplements are to get those vitamins or that vitamin D in our body, we need to make sure we do that. One thing that I really want to point out and just make sure that I mention is, as I said in the previous video, that sister locks it's not a hairstyle, it is a lifestyle. And that is pretty much locks in general. And what I mean by it being a lifestyle is truly that. It is a lifestyle. It changes how we live, because we are now not just thinking about our hair as being something that we're doing to make it look good or just having it up there for show. But now our hair is what is changing the lifestyle about us, maybe how we eat, maybe how we sleep. These kind of things can be adjusted, because when we're adjusting our life and our bodies to cause our hair to grow and to give life to our hair, we have to adjust things in our natural life as well in order to give our hair the essentials that it needs. Certain things like diabetes, high blood pressure medication, thyroid. A lot of people don't realize these things play a part in our hair. I ask my clients a lot of times, are you taking any medications? Do you have this illness? And I have had some who have been honest, and then I have had some that during the consultation may have said no. Maybe they just didn't feel comfortable with sharing it or didn't think it was vital for me to know. But then as time went on and we became more acquainted and comfortable, they would share, okay, I didn't tell you then, but now I'm telling you that I do take, you know, blood pressure medications. So now I can say these are the things that you're taking, and this is what may be causing your hair to thin. This is what we need to do now to change it and fix it. So, being honest with ourselves, being honest with our loctician, letting them know what we're doing so that they can help us change what we're doing or maybe fix or adjust what we're doing to help our hair grow. With our thyroids produce hormones that are responsible for regulating bodily functions. For example, like your heart rate, your metabolism, how well your hair grows, how well your nails grow, and and that's hyperactive, not hyperactive thyroid. Um, if we are if we are in a place where you have, let's say, high blood pressure, diabetes, thyroid, things like that, you may want to consult your doctor, your physician, and say, listen, I know these are some issues that I have. Is there anything that I can do that maybe will help with my hair? Birth control, that's another thing that can cause some of the things in our bodies to cause our hair not to grow or thin. It sometimes can cause low or slow hair growth. When there is a disruption in the thyroid, it suspends the hair in rest mode. So what that means is that the hair consistently stays asleep, if that makes any sense. So when our body is acting in a natural function and moving regularly the way it's supposed to, you will notice that it produces, and you move and you go and you do, everything flows. But when we have sicknesses, illnesses like high fevers and things like that can cause hair thinning and hair loss. A lot of times we don't take that into consideration. And it's the same with our thyroid. Once that hair stays asleep, it is no longer moving, so it becomes dormant. And if it's dormant, what does it do? It just stays still. And so, if we're noticing something like that, those are some of the questions to bring up to our doctor. Hey, can you check my thyroid? Make sure my blood levels are good. And even if the blood levels are good, sometimes there's extensive testing to make sure that there isn't anything else that may be causing it. The thyroid hormone is essential to the body, so you want to make sure that that is under control. And once that is under control, it can take months before you start to see change in your hair. We as people, a lot of times, once we start changing up how we do things, we're looking for instant correction. We're looking for instant change. We're looking for things to show immediately. And sometimes we don't understand that the same way it took time for our hair to thin or change is the same way it's going to take time for that hair to now grow and regenerate. So that is another reason or another cause. Um, let's just get into a few things that we don't really kind of take into consideration, like age. Aging can cause a change in our hair. Just as we age, we naturally thin. Alopecia, autoimmune disease like lupus. I mentioned infections or high fevers. As women, it's important to take care of our personal space to prevent infections, because sometimes as women in our personal space we can tend to get infections consistently, and those things can cause a change. I'm just keeping it real with you. Those can cause a change. Infections are things that attack the body, and anything that's attacking the body can attack the hair and any other bodily functions that are going on. So we're talking about our hair growth, and how to keep this hair healthy. You have to keep this body healthy. You just have to. So those are some of the things. I'm moving right along, but if anyone has any questions, I know there's just a few people on here live, but if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'll check as I'm sitting here on the live, and I'll answer them as I'm going along. But if not, we're just going to keep on moving here. So some other things that can cause our hair loss are steroids. A lot of times with sicknesses, the doctors may put us on steroids, whether it's temporarily, whether it's just for a few months. Steroids can cause our hair to fall out or thin. Stress, that's like a big thing, and it's like one of the things that it seems we can't really seem to eliminate or get rid of. Telling someone not to stress is almost like telling water not to be wet. It's like, how do you not stress? So at the same time, we want to still try to minimize or eliminate as much stress as possible. If you know that something is going to cause stress, and it's just something you can't deal with right now, then just choose not to deal with it, because it's going to be better for you. Stress causes all types of changes to happen in our body. And this is why sometimes we'll see the thinning, we'll see our hair or our locks falling out, just due from stress. Postpartum, a lot of women don't take into consideration that postpartum can cause our hair to thin. It's because our body is now adjusting and changing, and it now has to go back to its normal body function. Surgeries, things like that, anything that disrupts this body and changes how the body functions can change how our hair grows. It can change how it thins. It can change how it's not thinning. It can change the texture. It really changes a lot to our hair. So those are some of the other things. I'm just checking my notes just to make sure that I'm not missing anything, because I want to make sure that I give you all of these key points that I pointed out. Also, keep in mind anything that I'm speaking of when it comes to like diabetes, steroids, stress. All of these I have read from reliable sources like WebMD, JohnsHopkins.com. I will also put those description links in the those web links in the description box, so that you can also view those and read those over on your spare time, or when you feel that you want. Another thing I want to talk about is when it comes to alopecia, black women in particular. And I know that, people of all races thin, but for this particular thing that I'm speaking of, I'm speaking to black women in general. Black women in particular are prone to have a type of hair loss called traction alopecia. And what causes traction alopecia? And what it is the very thing that we're very well known with, and that is pulling our hair so tight, making it so tight that we have to see the fibers sticking to our hair, braiding it so tight. When you have those little bumps on the back of your neck, heat, just those are kind of the things that cause traction alopecia. That is where our hair begins to thin, and that hair does not come back. Those follicles are dead, and once the hair follicles are dead, I'm not talking about dormant, I'm talking about dead. Once they're dead, they cannot be rejuvenated. They're dead. So you want to do as much as you can to try to keep those hair follicles strong, healthy, moving, not laying dormant if you can. Again, going back to the very first thing that I mentioned, genetics. If genetics play a part in it, then it would be hard to kind of help, because genetics will be genetics. But you want to make sure, even with your reties, that you're not allowing your loctician to do your reties so tight. That is for any type of locks. Because a lot of times we're like, oh, we want our hair slick. Oh, make it really tight because I'm not coming back for 2 months. No. It's no different than anything. If you cover something up, and let's just use your hair retie for example. If you get your hair retightened and you notice that that lock is so tight that it's just kind of standing up there, it hurts a little bit, but oh, okay, in a week it'll loosen a little bit, and then I can go ahead, and that shouldn't be it. The hair follicles shouldn't be trying to wiggle to get some room, like, okay, if I can just get through here and breathe. No, it should have room. When I retire my client's hair, a lot of times when they leave out that chair, I technically can probably pull it one more time, but I'm not. I'm not, because I want you to have that room, that hair is growing healthy and it's not growing restricted or confined. So you want to keep in mind, a nice retie is good, but a tight retie is not necessary. And especially when you're coming back every month or every 6 weeks, or whatever your time frame is that you're getting your hair retightened, you don't need to have it that tight. Don't suffocate those hair follicles. They want to breathe. They want to breathe. So just moving right along here. What else can cause our hair to thin? Chemicals, dyeing our hair. And dyeing our hair will actually be our next hair segment, so I won't talk too much about that. But just to mention, dyeing can cause our hair to thin. There are some people that dye their hair that say, I've been dyeing my hair for 15 years and I've never had any problems. That is good. You probably have hair that can sustain and withstand the test and the trial of dye, but then there are some and most who cannot, and we'll get into that on the next video. But chemicals can really disturb our hair. For most of us that may have had relaxers prior to getting locked, you'll know exactly what I'm speaking of. Look how long it took, at times when our hair got burnt from the relaxer for it to come apart from our scalp. And if you scratch your hair, we're using oil sheen to keep it from itching during the process of it being put in. And all of that stuff, it damages our scalp. Our hair is made to be free. It is so many of us, especially as black women, we just have so many beautiful different textures, and locking it and making this crown beautiful is just another part of what makes us feel good, another part of what makes us beautiful. And you want to make sure you take care of it. And a lot of these things can help if we just do them. So I'm gonna make sure I put these references again in the description box. That is pretty much all that I have for hair thinning. If you have any questions, please, please, please feel free to send me an email. You can email me at crownherwithlove@gmail.com. Also, if you are not following me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, or Twitter, please do so at A Queen's Crown or Loyal to My Crown. I'm also going to put up a video of the hairstyle that I have in my hair right now. I did do a step-by-step video so that you all can see what I did to create this hairstyle, and that will be added right after this video is loaded. Thank you for those who were able to come on to the live, and for those of you who could not come on to the live, I appreciate your support, and I look forward to seeing you when you do watch this video. Again, thank you all so much for being subscribed to A Queen's Crown. And if you are not subscribed, please make sure you hit that notification bell, the like button, and the share button so that you can receive notifications every time A Queen's Crown goes live, post, or share. I'll see you all in the next video, family. Amani na upendo.